Oh my God.
She's sleeping here.
She slept here every night.
Sir, we found her.
Blessing wasn't just another graduate. She had finished university with outstanding results, carrying a heart full of hope and a head full of dreams. She believed her degree was the key that would unlock a bright future. She imagined buying her mother a beautiful house, clearing every family debt, and proving that poverty was only a temporary chapter in their lives. She was certain success was only one interview away. But life had already written a different story. Her first rejection email hurt. The 10th made her question herself. By the 15th, her confidence had quietly faded into silence. Some companies never called back. Others promised to get in touch, but never did. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Her neatly pressed interview clothes slowly gathered dust, while the little savings she had disappeared one bill at a time every night. She laid awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if all those years of studying had been for nothing. Then came Collins, walking into her life. He was kind, attentive, and always knew the right word to say. He spoke about future with so much confidence that Blessing never questioned his intention. "Trust me," he would whisper, holding her hands. "You are not just my girlfriend, you are my future." For the first time in months, she smiled again. She believed God has finally answered her prayers. But happiness can sometimes wear the marks of heartbreak. A few weeks later, Blessing noticed change in her body. Her hands trembled as she looked at the pregnancy test. Two bold lines. She was pregnant. Her heart raced with fear and excitement as she hurried to tell Collins. Instead of rejoicing, his face went cold. The man who once talked endlessly about marriage suddenly became a stranger. Within days, he stopped answering her calls. Her messages remained unread. His phone was switched off. Then she discovered he had packed his belongings, left his apartment, and disappeared without leaving a single goodbye. Just like that, the man who promised to build a future with her vanished, leaving her alone with a growing child inside her. As if fate hadn't been cruel enough, another disaster arrived. Months of unpaid rent finally caught up with her. Her landlord dragged her bags outside, locked the apartment door, and took away the keys from her hand. Standing by the roadside with two suitcases, swollen eyes, and nowhere to go, Blessing realized she had lost everything. Her dreams, her relationship, her home, but she couldn't afford to give up. Not anymore. She accepted the only job she could find. As a cleaner in one of the city's most prestigious companies. Every morning, she quietly pushed her mop across polished floor while successful professionals hurried past without even noticing her. None of them knew the woman cleaning their office had once been one of the brightest students in her universities. None of them knew she was carrying a baby. And none of them could have imagined the painful secret she carried every single night. When everyone else packed their bag and went home, Blessing stayed behind. Not because she loved working overtime, but because she had nowhere else to go. Nowhere, unknown to everyone. The office had become her bedroom, and the secret she fought so hard to hide was only days away from changing her life forever. Every evening, Blessing watched the office slowly empty. One by one, employees packed their bag and hurried home to their families. The sound of laughter faded down the hallway. The elevator stopped moving. The light in the office went dark. Only then did she quickly lock the cleaning closet, glance over both shoulders to make sure no one was watching, and walk towards an abandoned storage room hidden at the far end of the building. That tiny room had become her world. There was no bed, only flattened cupboard spread across the cold concrete floor. An old sweater, worn and faded, served as her pillow. A small nylon bag held everything she still owned. 2 changes of clothes, a bottle of water, a loaf of bread, and the university certificate she refused to throw away because it reminded her that she was once full of dreams. She gently placed both hands on her growing baby tummy. Tears rolled down her cheek as she whispered, "Please don't give up on me. I know it is not the life I promise you, but I promise one day we will have a real home." The room answered only with silence. Some nights she cried herself to sleep. Other nights, hunger kept her awake until morning. Before the first ray of sunlight touches the window, Blessing quietly slipped into the staff restroom. She bathed with cold water, washed her uniform by hands, dried it under the hand dryer, tied her hair neatly, and picked up her mop before anyone arrived. By 6 a.m., the office floor was already sparkling. Her co-worker soon noticed something unusual. "Blessing, why are you always the first person here? Do you even go home?" She simply smiled. "I live nearby," she lied softly. One afternoon, a woman named Sandra laughed loudly enough for everyone to hear. Maybe she has married the office. The room erupted with laughter. Another colleague added, "She's probably the company's most loyal employee. She even slept here." Everyone laughed at her, never knowing how close they were to the truth. From that day on, they stopped calling her Blessing. They called her Office Wife. Each time the nickname echoed through the hallway, Blessing forced a smile and continued mopping the floor. But inside, every word felt like another wound. She knew that if anyone discovered her secret, management would see her as a security risk. She would not just lose a place to work. She would lose the only roof standing between her unborn child and the streets. So every night, she returned to the little storage room, and every morning, she smiled as though nothing was wrong. Little did she know, her biggest secret was only days away from being exposed. One Friday evening, the peaceful atmosphere inside the compound was shattered. Several expensive office laptops and electronics equipment had disappeared from one of the executive departments. Panic spread through the building. Manager rushed from office to office. Security immediately sealed the exits. Nobody was allowed to leave until every camera recording had been reviewed. Everyone expected the CCTV footage to reveal a professional thief. Instead, one familiar face appeared on the screen. Blessing. The room felt silent. The footage showed her quietly walking into the abandoned storage room long after every employee had gone home. One security officer frowned. Why would she be hiding in here every night? The camera continued recording. Blessing gently removing a small loaf of bread from her worn-out handbag. She carefully broke it into tiny pieces, eating slowly as if trying to make it last until morning. She unscrewed an old plastic bottle and drank a few careful sips of water. Then she sat on the cardboard floor. Both hands rested on her growing stomach. Tears rolled down her cheek as she whispered, "My baby, one day we will laugh about all this. I promise you, Mommy won't give up." Even the security officer, who had been joking moments earlier, became quiet. One of them slowly wiped his eyes. Another whispered, "She's not stealing, she's surviving." The missing equipment was eventually discovered in another department where it had been mistakenly moved during renovation. Blessing had done absolutely nothing wrong, but it was already too late. By Monday morning, someone had secretly recorded the CCTV footage on a phone. Within hours, the video had spread across the entire office. Employees gathered around Blessing, staring as though she was a criminal. "So you have been living here all this time? That's disgusting. No wonder she is always the first person at work. She is bringing bad luck into the company." Some employees stepped backward. Others covered their nose as though poverty could spread like a disease. A woman folded her hand and shouted loudly, "Throw her out before she gives birth inside this office." The cruel laughter echoed through the hallway. Blessing stood frozen. Her hands trembled. She wanted to explain. She wanted to tell them about the night she cried herself to sleep, about the fiancé who abandoned her, about the home she lost, about the baby she was desperately trying to protect. But no word came out, only silent tears. The woman resources manager finally signaled the security guard, escort her out immediately. As the guard slowly walked towards her, Blessing gently picked up her small handbag, the only thing she still owned. She lowered her head, believing she had lost the last opportunity life had given her. Then, the sound of a tire echoed through the compound. A sleek black luxurious SUV rolled through the company gate and came to the smooth stop at the entrance. The guard instantly stepped aside. Managers straightened their suits. The atmosphere changed in seconds. The company's CEO had arrived unexpectedly. No one knew that the next few minutes would change Blessing's life forever. The woman resources manager hurried towards the CEO the moment he stepped out of his black SUV. "Sir," he said nervously, "we have caught one of the cleaners secretly living inside the building. She had been sleeping here for months. We were just about to dismiss her." The CEO frowned. "Bring her to my office." Blessing's leg trembled as security escorted her inside. Every step felt like the final walk towards losing the only thing she had left. She stood before the CEO with her head lower, unable to meet his eyes. He remained silent for a few moments, studying the exhausted young woman standing before him. Then in a calm voice, he asked only one question: "Why?" That single word broke the wall Blessing had built around her heart. Tears rolled down her cheek. She spoke about graduating with honor, the endless job applications, the man who promised to marry her before disappearing after she became pregnant, the landlord who threw her belongings onto the street, the night she slept on cardboard, praying her unborn child would survive another day. "I wasn't hiding because I wanted to break the company rules," she whispered through tears. "I was hiding because I had nowhere else to go." The office felt completely silent. Even the manager, who had been demanding her dismissal, looked away in shame. Then the CEO slowly stood up. He walked towards the large window and stared outside for a long moment before speaking. "25 years ago," he said quietly, "my mother and I slept under a market stall after my father abandoned us." Everyone looked at him in shock. We survived because one stranger chose compassion instead of judgment. He turned back to Blessing, his eyes filled with emotion. "If that person had looked away, I would never have become the man standing before you today." He faced the human resources manager. "Nobody is firing her." The room froze. "But sir," one senior manager protested. The CEO raised his hand. "I wasn't asking for your opinion," he continued firmly. "Effective immediately, Blessing will join our graduate training program. Our qualification deserve an opportunity, not a mob." Guests echoed around the room. And that's not all. He instructed HR to provide Blessing with a full furnished apartment, complete maternity care, counseling support, and a salary increase while she completes her training. Blessing covered her mouth, unable to believe what she was hearing. The same people who had mocked her only minutes earlier now stood speechless. Then the CEO turned towards every employee gathered outside the office. His voice echoed through the hallway. "The greatest poverty isn't sleeping on cardboard," he paused. "It is having a heart so empty that you can laugh at someone who is fighting to survive." Not a single person dared to speak. Some lowered their head, others quietly wiped away tears. For the first time in many months, Blessing wasn't crying because she had lost everything. She was crying because someone had finally seen her worth. 9 months later, the wall of the hospital echoed with the loud, healthy cry of a baby boy. Blessing held him tightly against her chest as tears streamed down her face. For a long moment, she couldn't speak. She simply whispered, "We made it. We really made it." She named him Victory because every kick he gave inside her womb had reminded her not to give up. He was the child who had almost entered the world without a roof over his head. Yet, he became living proof that Even the darkest nights eventually give way to morning. The CEO personally visited the hospital with gifts for both mother and child, while many employees who had once mocked her stood quietly outside the room, ashamed of how they had treated her. Some apologized through tears. Blessing smiled and forgave them. Life had taught me that bitterness keeps old wounds alive, she said softly. I would rather heal. Years rolled past. Blessing worked harder than expected. She arrived early. She studied after work. She completed professional certification and took on projects others avoided. One promotion became another. Before long, she became one of the youngest senior manager in the company history. People who once called her office wife now proudly address her as Madam Blessing. But success never changed her heart. She never forgot the cold storage room, the cardboard she slept on, or the night she cried herself to sleep praying for a miracle. One raining evening, as employees rushed inside to escape the heavy downpour, security stopped a young pregnant woman standing nervously at the company gates. Her slippers were worn out, her dress was soaked by the rain. She clutched a small nylon bag that held everything she owned. Her hand trembled as she asked if there were any cleaning job available. Some workers frowned. We can't keep taking in every stranger. One of them altered. Send her away, another said impatiently. Just then, Blessing walked through the lobby. The moment she looked into the woman's threatening eyes, she felt like she was staring at her own reflection for years. She quietly walked over, took off her own blazers and wrapped it around the young woman's shoulder. Then she turned to everyone watching. Don't judge someone because you met them during the worst chapter of their life, she said. Someone once looked beyond my circumstances and gave me a second chance. Today, it is my turn to do the same. The lobby felt silent. Blessing arranged a job interview immediately. She also made sure the woman had temporary accommodation, warm food, and access to medical care. That single act of kindness changed another family future forever. As the years passed, Blessing started a foundation that supported homeless women, struggling single mother, and unemployed graduates, helping them rebuild their life with dignity. Her story spread far beyond the company walls. She was invited to speak at universities, conferences, and community programs, inspiring thousands with a journey that had begun on a pieces of cardboard in a forgotten storage room. People no longer remember her as the homeless cleaner who secretly slept inside the office. They remembered her as the woman who turned pain into purpose and kindness into a legacy that will outlive her. Because sometimes the chapter that looks like your ending is only the beginning of the greatest testimony of your life. I hope you enjoyed this story. Thank you for watching.